You've probably heard someone say, "We're living in the end times." But what if I told you there are ancient Bible prophecies written thousands of years ago that people believe are unfolding right now, in real time? And the craziest part? Some of these predictions sound eerily similar to the world we're living in today. Wars, global chaos, economic instability, technology changing humanity itself. Even events described in the book of Revelation are suddenly being discussed by historians, pastors, and political analysts alike. But here's the question nobody can agree on. Are these just coincidences? Or are Bible prophecies coming true before our eyes? Stick around, because the final prophecy we'll talk about is the one many believe changes everything. The ancient predictions that still shock historians. One reason biblical prophecy fascinates millions is because many Bible predictions appear incredibly specific. We're talking about prophecies written centuries before certain historical events actually happened. Take the destruction of ancient cities like Babylon or Tyre. Historians still debate how accurately some biblical descriptions match later events. Now, whether you're religious or skeptical, that alone is enough to make people stop and think. And this is where things get interesting. The Bible doesn't just talk about ancient kingdoms. It also describes future global conditions that sound surprisingly modern. That's why searches for Bible prophecies coming true today have exploded on YouTube and Google over the last few years. People are trying to connect the dots. Are we seeing the signs of the end times? One of the most searched topics online right now is signs of the end times. Why? Because the world feels unstable. In the Bible, especially in Matthew 24, there are warnings about wars, famines, earthquakes, deception, and global fear increasing before the end. Now, obviously, humanity has always experienced disasters and conflict. That's important to remember. But many people believe the intensity and frequency of global crises today feel different. Think about it. Within just a few years, the entire world experienced a pandemic, economic disruption, political division, food shortages, and rapid technological change all at once. For many viewers searching, End Times Prophecy Explained, this feels bigger than coincidence. And this next part might surprise you. Some believe the real mystery isn't war or disaster. It's technology. The Revelation prophecy that sounds like modern technology, the book of Revelation contains some of the most mysterious Bible prophecies ever written. And one passage especially gets attention today. It describes a future system where buying and selling becomes controlled in ways people centuries ago could never imagine. Now think about modern society for a second. Digital payments, biometric identification, artificial intelligence, centralized financial systems. Suddenly, ancient symbolic language feels strangely relevant to modern conversations. Now, nobody knows exactly what these verses mean, and interpretations vary widely. But that uncertainty is exactly why Revelation Prophecy Explained has become one of the biggest YouTube search terms in religious content. People want answers. They want to know whether humanity is heading toward a future the Bible warned about long ago. But here's where most people make a mistake. They focus only on fear. The deeper message of biblical prophecy is actually about awareness, preparedness, and hope. Why global conflict keeps fueling Bible prophecy discussions every time major conflict breaks out somewhere in the world, searches for Bible prophecy and current world events skyrocket. And honestly, it's easy to see why. The Bible frequently mentions nations rising against nations and periods of worldwide instability. Today, with social media and 24-hour news coverage, every conflict feels immediate and personal. You're not hearing about events weeks later anymore. You're watching them live. That creates a psychological effect previous generations never experienced. And because of that, many people feel like the world is accelerating towards something unknown. Now, this next part might surprise you. Some scholars believe prophecy isn't necessarily about predicting exact dates. Instead, it may describe repeating patterns in human history that intensify over time. That changes the conversation completely, because suddenly prophecy becomes less about panic and more about understanding human nature itself. The prophecy about deception in the information age, one of the most overlooked Bible prophecies coming true today, involves deception. The Bible repeatedly warns about false information, manipulation, and people being misled. Now compare that to today's world. Deepfakes, AI-generated content, viral misinformation, manipulative algorithms. We live in a time where seeing is no longer believing. And honestly, that's terrifying. Millions of people are now questioning what's real online. That's why phrases like biblical signs happening now and end-time warnings keep trending across YouTube. People feel overwhelmed. Because if deception becomes impossible to detect, how do you know who to trust? And this is where ancient scripture suddenly feels incredibly modern. The rebuilding of Israel and why it matters among all Bible prophecies. One event stands out to many believers more than almost anything else: the reestablishment of Israel in 1948. For centuries, many thought it was impossible that a scattered people could return and form a nation again. Yet it happened. And for many Christians studying biblical prophecy explained in simple terms, this became a major prophetic milestone. Now, regardless of personal beliefs, historians agree this was one of the most remarkable geopolitical events of the 20th century. And because of that, countless people began rereading prophecy passages with fresh eyes. But here's where things get even more mysterious. Some believe this event started a prophetic countdown connected to future world events. Whether that's true or not remains heavily debated. But the fascination keeps growing every year. Why so many young people are suddenly interested in prophecy? Here's something unexpected. A huge percentage of people searching, "Are we living in the end times?" are actually younger viewers. Why? Because younger generations inherited a world filled with uncertainty, climate fears, economic pressure, social division, rapid AI development. There's a growing sense that humanity is entering unfamiliar territory. And during uncertain times, people naturally search for meaning. That's why mysterious Bible prophecies are suddenly reaching millions of views online. Not necessarily because everyone is deeply religious, but because people are looking for explanations, for patterns, for reassurance that chaos isn't random. And this next prophecy might explain why interest keeps exploding. The prediction of a worldwide system. One recurring theme in biblical prophecy is global interconnectedness. Centuries ago, the idea of a worldwide communication network would have sounded impossible. Today, a single post can reach billions of people instantly. A financial crash in one country affects markets across the world within hours. Humanity has become deeply connected technologically, economically, and culturally. That's unprecedented in history. And many people studying apocalypse in the Bible believe modern globalization mirrors prophetic descriptions more closely than ever before. Again, interpretations differ, but the similarities are enough to keep audiences searching for answers. And this is where the story loop from the beginning finally comes together. Because the biggest mystery isn't whether prophecy exists. It's whether humanity recognizes the warning signs before it's too late. The real meaning behind Bible prophecies: when most people hear end times prophecy, they immediately think fear, destruction, collapse, judgment. But many biblical scholars argue the real message is deeper than that. The purpose of prophecy may not be to terrify people. It may be to wake them up, to make humanity reflect on how we treat each other, how we use power, how we handle truth, technology, and morality. Because every generation thinks it's witnessing unprecedented times. But our generation is the first where technology, global communication, artificial intelligence, and worldwide crises are all colliding simultaneously. And whether you believe these Bible prophecies are literally coming true or not, you have to admit something strange is happening in the world right now. The ancient warnings suddenly don't feel so ancient anymore. So here's the big question we open with. Are these events proof that Bible prophecies are coming true today? Nobody can answer that with absolute certainty. But what makes these prophecies so powerful is how they continue forcing humanity to ask deeper questions about the future, morality, and where the world is heading next. If you enjoyed this breakdown, then you'll definitely want to watch the next video where we uncover the most terrifying predictions hidden inside the book of Revelation. And if you want more videos exploring mysterious Bible prophecies, signs of the end times, and ancient secrets connected to modern events, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned.